All right, so shall we start?
Yeah.
I cannot promise that it will be the best presentation that you've seen in the past, but I will try to do my best. So hello, my name is Paweł Bączka, and it was the best backup strategy, or it could be the worst backup strategies. So we imagined how to prepare for those presentation, and we thought with our marketing team that we'll play a little bit story and we'll tell you the story based on a Dickens. I for sure I know you know the story of the Scrooge, of the ghost from the past, the ghost from the present, and the ghost from the future. And I will play a little bit story and also tell my personal story as a one of the founder, as a CEO of the company. Used to be a CTO. I just recently changed the role into the CEO, but I would like to also play with the discussion how the market matured and where the market is going. I know that you've been going through many of the different vendors. We believe that we got something unique on the market that we building from the day one or the day zero when we actually build the company. Definitely I would like to introduce to interact, to disrupt the presentation. If you will have any questions during the presentation, feel free. So this is what I said. I divided the presentation into three parts. So first I will tell about the first 10 years of the company, what we seen, what was the first impression, how we saw the market, and how we wanted to disrupt the market, which was already really major. And to be honest, not many, let's say, friends or competition giving us any chance that the small Polish company, provided with any investment, only three people, two engineers, one from the business, going from the big corporation can do something from the scratch without any fundings. But here we are. I'm glad that I have this opportunity, and I will tell you how I saw the first 10 years, especially on the market. Then we'll concentrate what's going on today, how I perceive and see how these changes are moving, how the backup vendors are changing their own way to communicate with the end user or with the partners, and what's our role actually today. And we will play definitely about the future proposals. Every vendor has its own idea. I think it's really personalized. We are still the small backup shop. We are right now 50 people onboarded. So I think our future is really related to the key persons, to our personal feeling about the market. So it can be a little bit differentiate when you speak with the biggest vendor. But let's see how it goes. So let's start with the ghost from the past. So in 2013, when I founded the company, we noticed one key factor. Everybody was concentrating, and if the backup vendor wanted to go into the global market, everybody said it's all about the virtualization, it's all about the VMware and the Hyper-V. It was an 85% market captured by both vendors, and depends on a different region. You could see that the numbers were varied, but in most cases 90% was held by those two vendors. So what all of the backup vendors did, they said, we would like to be the first into this industry. See what the Vim did, the number one in the Vim. They only invested in the first years in a VMware. Commvault, what they did, they, let's say, optimize their workloads into the VMware. So all of the backup vendors said, if we will align into the VMware, we'll build the position. And I'm not saying it was the best strategy, because this strategy gave them the numbers and the strength of the market. But we saw the market a little bit differently than the others. We saw from the first day that there is something beyond the VMware and the Hyper-V, and we noticed that there is a 15% to 20% of the market, that there is a huge gap in the backup functionality. And I noticed that this is the KVM-based and Zen-based hypervisors. Different distribution. Nobody that time knew the Nutanix, nobody that time knew the OpenStack. We'll talk about the different scenarios. But we realized that there are thousands of the customers, the managed service provider, cloud providers, even the Amazon, that they looking for the differentiator from the key virtualization vendors. And guess what? There wasn't in 2013, 2015, when we started and released the first code, none of the backup vendor, enterprise-grade backup vendor, that they cared about such an environment. What we decided and what was the, our long-term mission is to provide the enterprise-grade data protection for open source virtualization platforms. Of course, we didn't know what happens in the next 10 years, what the Broadcom and acquisition will does, but that was the first impression, yeah?
So you just said to protect open source virtualization engine with a commercial product and not with an open source backup product.
Yes.
How was it received by the market? Commercial to solve an open source?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because the open source fellows, they hate the commercials. So what we noticed is that there is no sense to go into the KVM legacy, the open source that says you need to pay extra money. So we built also the freemium version for the smaller customer shops. But we noticed that the bankings, many of the enterprises, they also differentiate from the virtualization engines, and they needed to have a proper data protection. And in 2015, when we introduced the first version, we called the product then vProtect. Before we moved into the Storware backup and recovery, we've been the first one who actually wanted to attack the enterprise-grade customers. And I will not go, but imagine that we've been also the one of the first company who also did the mobile device, not mobile backup. We did the iOS, Android, and the Windows Phone. We killed the product because there was not a market, and everybody moved into the Dropbox box that time. But we also built the enterprise data protection for the endpoints with the IBM. It was quite unique. We called it was a continuous data protection platform. So we tried many different ways. We always try to be disrupt, not going as a typical backup vendor first into the VMware shop, typical file system agent. We try to do it differently. Some of them, I don't want to say mistakes, but the paths that we go didn't commercialize. But this is how it goes when you would like to disrupt and looking for something unique. But the path that we chose in 2015 from the open source and KVM and Zen-based hypervisors was, one of the key differentiators that is actually moving us into today and the future step. The important milestones from the company is that we also seek and we was one of the first backup companies who actually introduced the Office 365 backup, then moved into the Microsoft. We just got rid of the support. I will explain later why. We would like to concentrate on the open source and the OpenStack community. But this is also the important path. We've been noticed by the biggest vendors, and we feel because the biggest players, starting from 2019, like IBM, Dell, or OpenText, they noticed that they're missing something, that the more and more market is moving into the open source direction. Because of Red Hat, because of Canonical, because of the OpenStack. So they noticed that there is no sense to build something from the scratch. It's better to fill the gap cooperating with us. So this important milestone from us, giving us, the strength, but also, to be honest, 95% of the market, they don't know that we are hidden before the key partnership worldwide. So if you will find the Dell vProtect, if you will find the data protector for cloud workloads, if you will just go and see the old name vProtect in IBM portfolio, you can find our solution as the reselling or white label. Even the Gartner or the other analytics, they mention their products, but they do not know in the end that this behind the scene there is a Polish company called Storware. And this giving us a huge advantage and the credibility for our customers, because when we go in, and everything changed from 2020, because when we go into the customers such as Lenovo, such as Garmin, Incorporated, to the biggest telcos, and we're saying that we are not only the small backup shop, but we also validated and we proved and we took through the technology due diligence from the biggest vendors, and we are part of the portfolio. It's giving us a huge credibility and the opportunity to sell to the biggest accounts. Why are you saying biggest account? Because the Storware, we target mid-size and enterprise companies. We are not today interested into the small and micro companies. Definitely our DNA, my DNA was always working with the enterprise grade vendors, and our software is built with the philosophy such as Commvault, Rubric, Cohesity, and the others. This is the exclamation mark because I cannot tell you right now, but hopefully in 2 months.
Let me close the door.
You can say it. You can say it.
I try.
I think maybe I didn't do it, but how much of your revenue percentage-wise comes from these OEMs?
Last year, in the last 5 years, it was the majority, but last year we moved that more than 50% is going from our direct sales. So it's something like 60 to 40. 60% is from the direct sales, 40% is from the OEM.
And can you tell us something about the size, like revenue-wise?
Right now, we are close to 5.5 million euro as a yearly revenue. In 3 years, the goal is to reach at least 10 million from selling our software. So Philip, now I cannot, even if you close the door, I will not tell you the
Is
name.
it a software company?
Yeah, but this is the leader in the Magic Quadrant. So
Starting with a C.
I don't know the name from the C.
Are you working also with hyperscalers?
Starting with a C.
No. From the hyperscalers, this is a little bit different strategy because we going directly to the managed service providers and the cloud service providers, but not yet to the hyperscalers. This is what we noticed. The hyperscalers are it's even more difficult answer because when our software is selling through those fellows, maybe we are in the hyperscalers, but we don't know the names. We know that there's a Capgemini, Infosys, and hundreds of the different enterprise accounts, Samsung, etc., that we did not reach directly, but through the OEMs, it may, the answer from the direct sales, we are not there, but from the OEM agreements, to be honest, we don't know. Again, what is the name of the sea? You heard the rumors, so you know where I was in San Francisco.
In January.
It's not the rumors.
In January.
No. Don't go in that direction. Because you were there, it doesn't mean it's sea.
It's a small world. It's a small world.
Totally coincidence.
Exactly.
We will see how it goes. Yeah.
I keep it for me. For me.
But this is the important step, because if we see that in 5-6 years, 4 major vendors in a Magic Quadrant they interested into us, this is, let's say, from us the proof that we're going into the right direction. I will explain in the detail this direction.
But the key point on this is when an analyst, let's say, make this market study on vendor, if he detects that IBM, OEM, resell, distributor stuff, it gives credit to you and not to IBM.
Yeah, I mean, we know it.
And the analyst, if he gives credit to IBM, he make a mistake. Because normally
But
you
the-
should appear
Yeah,
in
I
a
know,
better
but
position
the goal is to
because
not mention Storware. Everybody knows it's Storware, but officially the credits are going to those vendors.
it's crazy.
Yeah, I know, but this is the part of the deal, and they've given us opportunity to using the pre-sales and the sales, the coverage, which is huge, and we noticed that it's much more easier to go to such as customers as we acquired last year, such as Garmin, and says. And we, for example, that was a funny story because in Garmin we've been fighting against our software in Dell.
That is the win, but
And that's-
we also have a number of lost deals
Lost
where we
deals.
have learned from customers that they have chosen Dell.
We choosing their technology because they are the better, but it's our technology. Yes, we know. But in the end, this is the win-win scenario. But it makes the sales a little bit weird than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Well, it's good because all of these, let's say, two American and OpenText, I think, is Canadian.
Yes.
Pick, select European technology.
Yes,
This is good.
this is good and strong. And to be honest, it was the part of our long-term mission because we used to work in IBM. I feel, I know how to communicate with them. What's the value behind it? But to be honest, if we didn't chose the path in 2015, we haven't been here. So 5 years on investment, 5 years on tough sales because when I go into the 2016 to the typical customers and I said, I have a KVM based backup, everybody said, okay, you are crazy. There is nobody's using them. So I need to be really patient and invest more into this area.
We will probably learn later in the presentation, but I can understand why some players select you because they realize they miss some key features and it takes too much time for them to develop.
Time to market.
Yeah. But for others who are already strong players, this time to market normally, they already cover a lot of things.
There's a major difference between highly structured, organized, arranged VMware, Hyper-V, and Nutanix environments where you have big companies behind and they restrictively guide you through the technology landscape. You cannot deploy VMware in your own way, the way you like it. You have one way to do it with certain deviations, but those are very limited. In the open source, you have full choice and freedom in deploying it your way. You can do it upside down, or the other way around, or from left to right, or again, the other way around. And we have seen so many crazy deployments. OpenShift on OpenStack on OpenShift, something coexisting together. Deployments with this type of drivers and this type of storages or others. So admins are gods. They can deploy these systems the way they want. And that's the biggest troublemaker for all these big, major backup providers because every infrastructure is different. And the bigger the guy is, the more trouble they can make into their environments. We have been fixing OpenStack, OpenShift environments deployments, not our system, the platform itself for our customers, because they did it their way, and it was absolutely against all the playbooks, all the recommendations, all the best practices. And the big guys, they like to have structured, universal approach. You put things on the table, you deploy them, and they always work. Sometimes we need to adapt our way to meet customer expectations.
I forgot about that. I met him on the street 5 minutes
Yes.
before the
Yeah,
presentation,
yeah.
and he's a VP of sales.
So, could appear as a surprise because we know the 4 leaders of the Magic Quadrant: Veeam, Commvault, Cohesity, Rubrik, as Cohesity acquire NetBackup. Okay, so it's difficult to understand that some of these 4 require something else.
True. Yes.
You also need to understand that we have started our conversations with Garmin recently, just to meet them and to let them know that we exist and so on and so forth. They even mentioned us in one of the reports about Kubernetes Kube backup. And the important thing about it is that the Magic Quadrant is focused on the largest volume market, which is VMware dominated, yes. And we, again, in our conversation with Gartner, we have learned that 70% of VMware customers have declared an interest to move away at least 50% of their workloads to something else than that. It obviously means that it can be Hyper-V, it can be Nutanix, but from our experience, our conversations from MSPs and big customers, they all consider the biggest stack, which is OpenStack.
Don't spoil it. Yeah, don't spoil it. Team, the major problem, again, Polish company, 3 founders, there is no money behind the scenes, there is no investor. So imagine Rubrik, they started from only 250 million. The same idea, same year, the Cohesity, they started only with the 500 million. Right now they raised something like $2 billion to validate to be $7-8 billion. We raised something like 300 USD in the last 12 years. So we are really proud, 300K. So comparing where we are and where we could be based on the investors landscape, and to be honest, it's not because of the technology, it's if we close or build the same company in San Jose in US, it could be totally different. Having a diverse and disrupt company from Poland, I'm not saying we are in a lost position, but we have much more hardware from the, let's say, not only European but the global market perspective. We see that glass ceiling, that we see the opportunity. When Andrzej joined us last year, he used to work in Commvault, Vim, he said this company can easily go into the 25-30 million. I can, yes, but you will see the challenges. And the challenges are that the biggest, they will not let you in. So that's why the part of our strategy is to go through the OEM and also invest into the direct sales.
Another remark is these analysts, Gartner and the other, put a threshold on the annual revenue.
Yes, true.
As you are too small,
Yeah,
you are eliminated by the revenue criteria.
So there is no chance that in the next decade we will be able, because we need at least one.
Even if you fuel many of these listed vendors.
So it's tough, but we need to manage it. So the challenge: what if you don't have enough marketing budget, but you have the ambition to grow? So what we done is we also invested, because we don't go and invest in a huge booth on the conferences. There is not such a, let's say, marketing budget that we have, but we invested in the knowledge. So we built the open virtualization portal. Before the Broadcom acquisition, we started to learn open source architects, engineers, and cooperating with the other companies such as Red Hat, Canonical, to involve and build the, let's say, the knowledge tube for those. So this is our own, let's say, investment, the way how we promote it as a specialist. And this is where I'm really proud of. Last year, when the Open Infrastructure Foundation, they built the VMware migration toolkit from the VMware into the OpenStack, and Open Infra is a part of the Linux Foundation. They asked us as the only backup company to advise and write let's say the materials how to help customers moving from the VMware into the OpenStack. So I'm glad, because I didn't sponsor it. I just they validated us, and they know that we are a trusted technology company who can help them as an open infrastructure foundation to move and promote the OpenStack community. We'll talk about more about the OpenStack. We'll talk more about the Proxmox in CPNG and the different open source commercial versions of the Zen-based and KVM-based hypervisors. And this is the place where the next ghost is coming. With this ghost is much more, let's say, present, it's much more validated, so we can deliberate what happened. And you know exactly what happened in the last 2 to 3 years. the Broadcom acquisition, this is the one of the best thing that could happen to such a company as Storware, to be honest. I apologize for it. Because everybody moved and asked the question, what's next? What's the alternative? And they started to using the open source names like XCPNG, Proxmox VE, OpenStack, and Citrix. Nobody cared before the Broadcom acquisition about such as names. I don't want to say that XCPNG, Proxmox, they didn't exist. They exist really well, but they got, let's say, could spread the wings because of the Broadcom. You know how the Broadcom works. This is the way how they strategy. Having the 20% of the customers with the 200% revenue, it means that 80% of the managed service providers, small accounts, they are forced to find something else. And then everybody, when they moved into the, let's say, alternative VMware backup, hypervisor, they ask a typical question. I got the Vim for my VMware, what's the next? How could I protect my Verge? How Verge IO? How could I protect my scale computing? How could I protect the
protect scale.
Sorry?
They already protect scale.
Yeah, I know. Vim right now, yes. So this we'll talk about the Vim and the part of the strategy. This is a little bit different one. So Vim, for example, answering. And saying we going into this smaller accounts because the Vim is specialized in the SMB market. So they need to cope with the Proxmox, XCPNG, and the other fellows. Our strategy is a little bit different. You will see the NIST in Europe, you know, NIST 2 is going, GDPR, ransomware is all the time, the threats, and this is how I spoke. To be honest, I'm not yet into this train. Everybody is going into the AI right now, AI agents, protecting. This is a part of the future, but I don't want to be, as a vendor right now, I would like to focus more on this piece of the problem, those three pieces. Here the AI and data protection, in my opinion, will demand additional features, the same as the containers involved, the same as a cloud involved. So it will be necessity to be and sales and help customers and integrate the AI with the backup platforms. But this is not a must-have for today. So when we showing our architecture, we showing the customers, we used to use the message like freedom of choice. So we, even 3-4 years, we got more than 12 or 13 different distributions. Of course, we have a VMware and a Hyper-V because it's a necessity, but we also have a XCPNG, Citrix, OpenShift, Red Hat Virtualization, Odoo, Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, Nutanix, and we've been the first one with the agentless data protection for the scale computing. We introduced the Verge in early 2015, and we've been actually the first vendor who actually discovered the agentless backup for Proxmox in 2018. Nobody knew it. Right now, there is no sense to promote it as the first backup vendor because the other players going into this direction. But I just want to, emphasize that we've been on this open source train since 2015. In 2019, we fully covered those. We started with the scale computing 3-4 years ago, before they were noticed. And actually, we cooperate with Verge. We'll tell you a little bit more about the Verge later. I know that the Verge was a part of IT Prestor, I guess, last year. George?
January.
Yeah.
In January.
Okay.
In January.
George couldn't make it, I think. There was a
Yeah,
problem.
he was stuck with the snow.
He needed to do it remotely, unfortunately. But we also, see what's going on from the containers perspective as a vendor. But from us, the really important is a private cloud approach. So different flavors from the OpenStack. And here you will find the OpenStack, the canonical OpenStack, Red Hat OpenStack, Platform 9, this is the players from the US that also build the private cloud based on the OpenStack. And of course, Azure Cloud right now, Azure Stack, they changed the name as the Azure Local. Yeah, it says Microsoft all the time changing the names. Storage providers, application, and OS agent. So this is something typical where customers asking what's your, let's say, best execution and what's your differentiator. Today, we fully focus on that. When you have a, let's say, multi-hypervisors world, multi-containers or multi-private cloud world, this is where the Storware best aligned. On the right side, you will see where we can actually write and store the backups. As a typical file system, important part, because of the Dell cooperation, we have a native DD-Boost API access, so we can speak with the data domain quite in a proper way, how the also biggest vendors does. Most of the object storage working worldwide. We also introduced last year the Storware Cloud as a part of our SaaS offering. We cooperating with a company called Enable from the Canada, Vault from the Portugal, and the Seagate as a Seagate, and we build the three type of the tiers that our customers can store the data into the cloud.
Seagate Live.
Seagate Live, yeah. So we all OEM from them. We giving our partners to choose. Tier 1 Enable giving us the option to deduplicate and replicate the data into their own cloud. It can be in Europe, can be US based and worldwide. Vault, this is the interesting offering because Vault is building the multi-cloud approach. So when you send in the data, it goes automatically into at least 2 or 3 different clouds with erasure coding. From the security sake, and all of the clouds can be, for example, in Europe, which is also from the sovereignty point of view really important. And the Seagate is typical live, the object storage.
Any collaboration historically with NEC or your Polish friends of 9 Lives Data?
Yeah, this is a good question. This actually after our last conversation in San Francisco when we met on the airport, I started to speak with Cezary Dubnicki, and you will see when you will see the next gen appliance. I cannot say more, but it can happen.
He joined us in Athens in December for the tour.
Okay.
So because he relaunched.
We have the funniest part is that we have a companies like 2 kilometers from each other, and I've never heard about them. Never.
It's incredible, huh?
Yeah, I just bought the cafe and ringing and EX said, there is the Cezary, he wants to speak with you. I said, who is the Cezary? Who is this data? And I think the same question could have a Cezary about the Storware. We close on each other. They've been for the 20 years on the market. We've been 12. And we don't have any clue that there is such as good data technology.
Yeah, but Poland is a big country.
Yeah, I know, but 2 kilometers? No, we should met before.
But you said Vault was a Portugal cloud provider.
Yes.
Yes, and it's based in Europe, and because it's very important now with the geopolitics.
Yeah, the goal is to have the Vault. Because in Vault you can choose from the local cloud providers.
Yeah.
In most European.
Yeah.
So here we would like to go to the European market and says you can. The goal is that you install the Storware on premise. And you can have a secondary copy only in Europe based on the Vault technology. So this is one of the messages that we would like to go to European countries. Because you can choose the data centers and you can be 100% sure that the data will not go beyond the European sovereignty.
The importance behind this is that we have chosen 2 buckets. One bucket is global cloud providers, so whomever from the world, and the second one are those that are not subject to US Cloud Act, only EU Cloud Act, and they cannot have anything neither from the investment perspective nor from the operating perspective in common with US. So purely European, like OVH and others, European cloud providers. Second bucket, and we have been receiving multiple questions from the Nordics actually about and Netherlands as well about EU sovereign backup provider with the EU sovereign cloud repositories. So everything is to be entirely EU based. Even Enable that provides the duplication, which is Canadian, it's disputable because they are keeping their data in Equinix data centers, and those are American.
So if they ask a question, we would like to have 100% European, they will not choose, will not recommend they enable.
Right.
Not even the Seagate will go into the vault here, because it's all about the security. I don't want to say that it's not secure, as it's not as secure as the vault. Yeah,
It's just American.
Yeah.
Too American.
And to be honest, from us also the Asia and the US is important. We see the huge growth, especially for the OpenStack in Asia, in the Middle East, but also in the US. I chose the 5 key sources that we would like to and we are concentrating on. So you can see more than 25, for example, but I will show you in more details 5 of those that we are most carry on, and when we'll see that we already choose the technical verdict and we would like to more invest in it. The first one is Red Hat. Red Hat is our, let's say, the old. It's also, related to the story behind the scenes. We invested in Red Hat in 2017. We invested as the first company in Red Hat virtualization. Right now, the Red Hat virtualization is moving into the OpenShift virtualization. Red Hat, when you go to the Red Hat and says virtualization, they will kill you. When you go and speak in Red Hat about the OpenStack, they will kill you. They only want to hear about the OpenShift and OpenShift virtualization. Even if the customer they don't want to, and the customer would like to go into the OpenStack, they will force them to purchase the OpenShift. I'm not saying this is not the best strategy, but in my opinion, whatever customers will choose from the Red Hat, it will be supported from us. And it's important that we have a direct access to the self-storage. Other vendors, especially when they're protecting the OpenStack, such as competition, such as Trilio or right now Rubrik, which already introduced the OpenStack, they don't have a native set, or the Commvault, they don't have the native SEP connectors. From our perspective, directly speak with the SEP, or in the future, for example, we'll integrate with the Pure Storage. It will give us an advantage from the speed, efficiency, especially in the scale. And when we're talking about the big OpenStack environments, we're talking about the petabytes plus environment. So this is one of the key differentiators that I would like you to emphasize, that this direct SEP integration giving us an advantage against the others. It's important that everywhere where it's possible, we're using the agentless data protection. On Hyper-V, for example, we need the agents on the typical operating system, but this is the agent. But wherever we can, we don't install the agent at all. We install the proxy, and the proxy communicates through the API with the container, with the KubeVirt, for example, with the OpenStack and the other. We certified, we try to keep up to date with our software on the Red Hat web pages. We know that from the customers, especially banking and telcos, this is where the Red Hat is, it's important that we need to be fully validated. Without the certification, there is no chance to sell such a project. Another player that we introduced we've been one of the first 3 companies that we started with the Nutanix. It was early 2018, and we also believed and still believing in the Acropolis hypervisor. This is a KVM-based, really good alternative before the Broadcom came into the place. And here today actually we have our release from our software. It's called 7.5. We will introduce the API version 4, so the latest API from the Nutanix. And we've been the first with Rubrik, the Storware, and I don't remember the third player, but I know that we've been one of the first of the 3 companies that introduced the backup for the Acropolis.
With IQ? IQ.
Okay, of course, sorry, apologize. IQ was the pioneer, and they invested the most money there. So HiQ Rubrik and the Storware. It was the first three companies that in 2018 they introduced the agentless data protection for the Acropolis. So moving on, what we noticed is 2019 we used to protect the OVIRT project. So this is the open source project. But the open source project moved into the Red Hat virtualization from the Red Hat and into the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager from the Oracle. Oracle, we last week got a worldwide webinar with the Simon Cotter, which is the virtualization product manager and the director for the worldwide. They saying that they will support the Oracle till 2035, which is still. We have 9 years of the support, and most of the enterprises, when they seek for the alternative solution, they can choose the Oracle. Honestly, most of the customers move into the Oracle not because of the technology, but the way how they license in the Oracle databases. But this is the way how the Oracle, let's say, build their own portfolio, which is where we would like to, also help them. We've been the first company who introduced the changelog tracking for the Oracle and for the OVIRT projects. Right now it's not most common, but still the 7 years of the development. And again, Storware was one of the first pioneers that were closely worked with the OVIRT community. Right now with the Red Hat and the Oracle community. And this is to be honest, at this stage for the Storware one of the dark horses. We noticed that there, from the Broadcom acquisition, one of the biggest movements, what we noticed as a backup vendor specialized in the open source, is a movement from the OpenStack. We love the OpenStack. OpenStack is one of the toughest hypervisors to manage, the toughest hypervisors to write a backup. So there is no many players on the market. You should notice Trillion as one of the first company who did a backup for the OpenStack. You have a Commvault who also invested in the OpenStack, and there is a Storware and the OEM from the Storware. That's all. So you have 3 players, and our goal is that if the customer will seek for the OpenStack, they will have only one proper choice: Storware or the OEM. From the 3 of those biggest Magic Quadrant vendors. So our ambition here is to be a #1 in the OpenStack, and we're doing a lot of the last 3 years of our roadmap to not only monetize but build the functionalities such as V2V migration, so moving natively from the VMware into the OpenStack. And we will introduce such as more functionality that we will speak in a sec. Important, see the different distributions. Platform 9, Sardina, FishOS, Red Hat, Canonical, Vanilla OpenStack, Easy Stack. There is Open Metal. There is, I don't want to say exact number because to be honest I don't know, but there is a dozen of the different commercial distribution worldwide that they rely on the OpenStack platform. And imagine that 90% of the managed service providers that are forcing to leave the VMware because they cannot purchase the licensing. So they need to go into the OpenStack because the OpenStack is only multi-tenancy major product that by giving them the possibility to continue the services as a managed service providers. What we also trying to help, because of our RESTful API and our plugins, we are only the company right now on the market that provide the Horizon and the Skyline plugins. This is the native plugins for the OpenStack. So we're helping customers and managed service providers to build the backup as a service offering. When the Rubrik, Cohesity, or other players going into the vCloud Director customers and they build in the backup as a service based on the VMware, we're doing the same, but for the OpenStack. And this is where Andrzej see the 2 separate paths: the native setting through the, let's say, customer and the managed service providers.
We actually every week see more or less 4 to 5 requests from different size service providers from different parts of the world, coming and asking more or less the same question. They say, our situation currently is that we have VMware with Veeam, typically that's a scenario, in multi-tenant services organization, and we want to move it into OpenStack. Can you do exactly what Veeam is doing for VMware, but on OpenStack? We are planning to deploy Horizon, Skyline, or any incarnation of this type of customer front-end platform. Can you provide us the functionality to be required? With role-based access, with all of these features and functionality they used to have. This is a challenge for them, because the biggest thing that they are missing is skills. They have skills in VMware, and they are usually lacking skills in OpenStack, and they need to cover that gap. If they have this gap covered, we are able to support them at the full scope and provide what they need. That's the biggest challenge currently on the market. So when we consider open source world, OpenStack environments, there are very few skills on the market, and those skills are very expensive. And if you want to acquire them, you need to pay a lot, or you need to spend some time training your own people, retraining them into OpenStack or into open source. At the end of the day, if you consider this 10 years time frame, you have spent 10 years with VMware, then you're going to spend 10 years with OpenStack. That makes sense, yes. So we need to have a long-term strategy.
But then you have also another product for the end, team speed, because you have contract, you have people that sits on the VMware part with the backup. Now you need to migrate this.
Yes.
And it's not just backup migration.
True. To it's migration of the whole.
Service.
Yeah.
And
that's what I say.
complex because
Yes.
you need to.
But believe me, what we notice is that if already this migration will happen, so they move from the VMware engine into the KVM-based engine, in the next years or decade plus, they will stay on the KVM because it will be the price-sensitive decisions. It's not about the technology, because the managed service providers and the CSPs, they would like to keep the margin going, and they cannot kill because of the changing of the pricing. So they will do, they will hijack and they will find the best way to migrate as seamlessly, as easy as possible to keep the margin going. Because from them, the price set, they are really price sensitive, especially for the host perspective.
We have had this conversation with Rackspace, which is our partner in US, and Rackspace guys have said that they are currently running more or less 400,000 virtual machines on 2 platforms, partially on Xen and vast majority on VMware. And they have declared that 90% of these workloads will migrate to OpenStack. They are founders of the OpenStack community, and there is no option for them. Those workloads that cannot, for technical reason, migrate from VMware to anything else will remain on VMware, but this will be 10% of the workload, so primarily more or less 40,000 VMs. Remaining 360,000 VMs will migrate from these 2 platforms, and that's why they forced us to design also the V2V for Xen into OpenStack. Because for them, at this scale, that means hundreds of millions of dollars in savings throughout the year. So the paycheck that they receive for this decision is so big that there is no alternative for them. They won't pay big money. That's such a huge money into VMware in the long run.
It's a little bit shame because I forgot about the Rackspace in the presentation. Okay,
So
it's important message, but I will cover it later on. V2V, so virtual to virtual. So we use the backup functionality. So first backup the VMware, then restore into the OpenStack with the conversion process. It's not, let's say, live migration, but this is the migration that gives you the 100% sure that you will get the latest increment, and you can use one platform, single platform, to cover both. And in case jumping between the hypervisors, you can be still covered by one solution. OpenShift virtualization, this is where we see that also the Red Hat is pushing a lot. And this is the customers' install base that we are also seeking for. We have more and more bigger accounts, and we supported the Red Hat virtualization since 2023. We also have been one of the first 5 companies in this area. So I just want to emphasize that the Storware was all the time close with such as vendors, with with such as workloads. And I know that The Verge, you got the conversation with Verge. Verge right now will do, as most of the vendors will introduce the Overit API to have the option to integrate with the players such as Veeam. But we would like to emphasize that we've been the first choice with discussion with George team, Crum, to have agentless data protection for The Verge. What The Verge is, let's say, when they acquired our attention, is that when we chose the vendors that we would like to cooperate with, we tested this commercial KVM-based hypervisor in our lab. And The Verge, that was the first HCI company that is going, this is my personal statement, this is going beyond the marketing. This is all about the technology. We haven't seen such a fast HCI solution on the market as The Verge is doing. So we really keep the fingers crossed for this team, because they got something that none of the other vendors has today from the KVM-based hypervisors. And I'm speaking not because of the cooperation, but the technology validation that we've done. We built a specialized CBT for them, native API integration, and it was, let's say, 9 months of hand-to-hand working close with their development. So if they will grow, we will also grow from the number of the customers.
This is something they sell directly?
No, they have their own, let's say, backup replication, but they haven't decided to go into the OEM or resell. They cooperating and say that Storware can be a great add-on.
Because in January he never mentioned.
Yeah, I know. I said to George, why?
He never mentioned Storware. He mentioned his replication, snapshot, VergeFS stuff, etc. But
this is complicated, because this is a part of the strategy that they trying to, let's say, do not navigate. They're working hard with us. They go into the customers and say Storware is the first choice. But officially, they want to be seamless, and they don't want to push the customer into this direction. To be honest, I don't know why. I asked George, I asked the CEO about it. This is the way how they goes. I believe because the Veeam introduced the, let's say, the common integration, they will go into also this direction because of the strength of the Veeam. But still, for you, it's important that we added in early 2025. And since that day, we already have a customer install base that we cooperating with. You can ask this question to George, to be honest. And the latest one, Ubuntu. Keep in mind that Ubuntu and the canonical, so the commercial version, they said that they are only company who will do the OpenStack support for the 10 years as a part of Ubuntu Pro. It's crazy, none of the vendors giving you such as guarantee, but we see the more and more interest into the OpenStack, especially in bankings and the telcos, because the OpenStack is really measured them and they're working. And we started the Technology Alliance, and we're trying to work hardly to be we're working on a reselling agreement, yes? Not yet? Yeah, but we would like to be a part of their own portfolio based into the canonical. So this is what I said. I didn't mention Rackspace. I will say later on. But right now, more than 10 years on the market, more than 400 customers. Right now, including the freemium and the commercial one. We are right now in more than 150 countries, and we have, to be honest, I don't like this number. It's still too much. It's small, really small. When we compare it to the other players, such as Scale Computing and other, they have thousands of the partners. It's really hard for us to, because we've never wanted to go into the quantity. We seek for the distribution and the partners as a quality ones. So we wanted to have 1,000 plus, but we decided we would like to have at least few of those in each countries and having the proper sales channel.
It also needs to be mentioned that we have had the direct sell to end user strategy over the years. because of the better direct customer touch. Now, because the scale is bigger and the market also requires local language support and local language first line touch, so this channel strategy becomes critical and essential. So we have flipped our strategy, and now we are slowly but consequently moving into the channel first strategy. So distribution, partners, resellers, integrators that have French, Spanish, Italian language skills and abilities to handle the call even if it's needed and provide this first line support. We are now discussing a lot with the big Spanish customers in Spain, but also in South America, and they all require or ask whether we can provide them native language conversation, not even support. Just they feel more comfortable when they talk to us in Spanish. Okay, AI provides you all of this flexibility in addressing your requirements in local language, but this is just AI. But having someone who is there in the field can come and do some fine-tuning, just talking to these admins in the local language, that is a value in its own. So channel partners are giving us this local language, local in-country touch and flavor, which we see the value in doing. English is universal, but it's not the only language in the world, yes. Recently we had a big public tender that we won together with Red Hat in Romania for the Romanian G Cloud. It's a huge one financed from the EU money. And because of that win, we also introduced local language support, and our platform is available in Romanian language. So, because customers sometimes, especially in public sectors, they prefer to have an interface in their own local language. I know it may sound awkward because when I look at my laptop, it's never in Polish. I need to have it in English because I don't understand Polish language on my screen or my Polish. And I can imagine admins don't understand Romanian language when they see this on the screen, but users, they do. And sometimes in public, they don't speak any other language than their own mother tongue. So with that, if you guys need to introduce a Swahili language into the application that we developed, because we have big deal in Africa, we can do it. That's also something that we do by design.
This is one story that one of the government companies, one of the ministry in Bangladesh, they put the tender on us, and nobody heard in a company that they're interested in us. So we haven't known even the lead, and somebody won it. So that was one of the customers that we won without any notification. So it was kind of the message that the message about the company spread around. Cloudflare is a managed service provider, is from Italy. mBank is a Polish bank. Garmin, you know it. Watches and other stuff. And Lenovo Cisco Disney Group is a part of the business. It used to be a BAMTech. So one of the first biggest customers in US that they trusted us. It was early 2019. They purchased the Red Hat virtualization for more than 500 hosts. That was one of the biggest implementation. And I was really surprised because then I noticed how selling the software in US may vary from the European. In European, you need to always go through the bunch of the POC, validation, information, when your closest friends and the co-workers will die, how old the company is. In the US, they say, we loved your roadmap, we'll take it. I said, what? What about the POC? There is no POC, we saw the video. I said, oh gosh, okay. So I came by to New York, spoke with them, and I said, really? You already purchased the order? And there were 10 of guys, and we really like the way how you communicated, what the future will be. And I said, okay, I would like to sell this kind of the story in European. There is no chance. In Poland, still, that most of the Polish customers think that the Storware is a bunch of the scripts built by Mączka. And to be honest, we have more customers abroad than in Poland, which is actually the shame. We won the biggest tender in the Romania. We have the government in Latvia. We don't have none of the big ministry government in Poland. They come to Poland and say, there is a really good solution from
It's
Poland.
very hard work.
Yeah, but we have an IBM, Beam, etc. combo. Because from them, they feel more secure to purchase the US company because they don't need to explain anybody what the Storware does. This is the really awkward scenario. Even last time we've been in Paris from the Open Infra, and there is a railway friends, and they said, "Oh, we really like your product." And I had said, "Okay, but there is no chance that but we have it from Dell." So we have a really good feedback from the lots of government companies worldwide. And what I hear in Poland, if you will build this, then we will purchase you. So what's going on here? You know, we already built something like million of the lines of the code, and it's still not enough. But this is the mentality we decided we will not fight against. We will find the market that we will, see what we already achieved and what we can do better. For example, Spain, Portugal. It's much more easier to sell them in Italy than in Poland.
This is maybe changing due to the geopolitical situation.
Yes, this one is changing.
And because you were mentioning Spain and Portugal, and they are ahead of the community in adopting European software.
Yes, and they changing. Our Polish government, they say that they will mark and give more points for the Polish companies from the cybersecurity. We will see how it goes. Yeah. So from us and from the most backup vendors, the data security, the rubric mentioned the first data security, and most of the vendors right now moving into this direction. We already introduced the air gap capability we call isolator. So we have a secondary copy which after the backup disappear and only show it when the backup or recovery appears. We built on top of our XFS file system the immutability also on the object storage. Encryption, multi-factor authentication, SSO integration with the keycloak, tape integration, and our own Linux hardened version because the Storware only works on the Linux. We don't like we've never worked on Windows and will never work. It's about the statistics. 95% of the attacks going on the Windows environment. So, and more and more attacks are going on the backup vendors. So we need to be on the Linux. And audit reporting. So we're doing lots of stuff because what is changing is that, which is actually good. Customers do not ask about the features; they ask about the security right now because for them the backup is enough. They don't want more, they would like to have it be more and more secure, more immutable, more air gap, etc. So we got the 6th type of the functionality that we discovered in the last years, and we know this will be the part of the longevity of the company. What is most important from my perspective is the isolator gap and the immutability. We will see how it goes with the potential integration with the technology alliances in the future. And when you see the story, you see the 3 types of the offering. The native software. So this is the Storware backup and recovery, the license per host, per VM, per terabyte. We still perpetual and the subscription. This is something that we still keep on it. Everybody moved into the subscription. We don't want to have this scenario because still customers would like to purchase the perpetual. And we're saying, okay, we are smaller, we are more flexible, we will not force you to go into the subscription model. So still in the store you can buy the perpetual per host, per CPU, per VM, per terabyte frontend, per terabyte backend. So there is a wide range of the different options to choose the best, the most optimal pricing strategy. You would like to add something?
Yes, I wanted to add that this perpetual license, although it is acting against all these global revenue measures which are focused on ARR, and obviously ARR is subscription friendly and very much perpetual unfriendly. We are going against the wind for a reason. There are markets like Eastern Europe that are financed from the EU money still, and the EU budgets, they require capex investment. And it's impossible to prove that subscription is capex. In many countries in Asia, in many countries in South America, they are uncertain about their future operations, and they need to have software that will run even without support, but will run. And they are willing to pay more now, even without a guarantee that they will be able to renew in 5 to 10 years, but they want to keep using the software, again, perpetual. So we are trying to understand real customer needs. We are small and we have to adapt to what the market requires. And at the moment, we don't care that much about valuation of the company because we are a technology company. We want to provide the best technology and address the most challenging and critical needs of our customers.
Yeah,
So maybe in 10 years from now or 5 years from now, we'll start this massive shift towards subscription or software as a service model. Or the market will return back to perpetual in 10 years from now, because I see that there is a sinusoid on the market in different things. So again,
This is something that we are, I don't want to say struggling, but we are right now starting to laughing at. When the potential investor come to Storware, they say you need to go into the MRR model and you need to go to SaaS. And I said, I don't want to go into the MRR model and I don't want to go to the SaaS. I would like to still kept on-prem, but everybody's going to the SaaS. Okay, let's go then to the SaaS. But still, most of the companies, they will do the pivot, they will come back, they will learn the lesson, and they would like to keep their data locally still. And I don't know what's your personal thought? I think my strategy maybe is not the investor phase best, but from the longevity of the company, especially in Europe, it will be, let's say, the sweet spot for us. Because right now the customer is going and saying, we need to have a perpetual, be local, and we don't have a choice. Everybody forcing us to go to the cloud.
even more, there are customers which are from the military industry, and they say, we need to have perpetual license because we will not let your system to contact your center to validate if the license is still valid every month or every 2 months or every 3 months. So either you give us something that will operate completely in full isolation, or we don't buy from you. And these are also conversations we have, especially these days right now when military customers are having big money and they're investing a lot in security.
So you insist on the fact that you are a small company. Why you sell appliances that create potentially a cost and not do an integration in the channel with partners who can integrate your software and sell their hardware?
I always was a fan of the appliance. Before the store, I built the TSN box, so it was the appliance based on the IBM, and we sold in Poland and in the foreign countries something in like 2 to 3 years, more than 100 appliances. I liked how the rubric and the cohesity goes into the appliance mode and plug and play and everything. And I still see that there will still be customers who would like to have a out-of-the-box solution with the hardened Linux and the responsibility for all of the because this is a matter of the responsibility in the appliance. Some customers says, we like your software, but we would like to, in case of problems, we need to prove that you were wrong, not me or the integrator.
Hardware matrix on selected partners with your software. You validate this and you sell.
And that's how we do it, actually.
Yeah,
Honestly.
because I'm really surprised. You and a few others coming from the software part, software DNA, added this hardware appliance flavor. Claudian did this for objects. Quality did this also. Of course, the model object first validate this a bit. But others are doing this, and I think for a small company, this is a suicide.
We already have, for example, right now customers who actually it's 200. So they purchased, and the only requirement was we need to have an appliance because we are governed and we need to close it.
Yeah, but you don't need to build yourself.
But just a comment, which you are asking is whether we tested different scenarios. And for Europe, within the European Union, where the borders do not exist, we can ship the box to our premises, integrate it, test it, and then ship it to the customer. It's like 1 day journey, yes? But when it comes to Asia or to America, we have tested different scenarios, and this model, when we deploy the hardware with the software in Poland and then we ship it to US, doesn't work. It's not about the shipment, it's about the insurance. It's too expensive. So this model, as you mentioned, that we have partners there, they order the hardware, they put the hardware to their racks, they connect a special device which we ship them to the network, and we deploy the software remotely, but we deploy it. So we have full control over how it's deployed. We do not allow anyone else to touch neither Linux nor the hardening layers nor anything else. So we keep full control. The only part we don't keep control over is the physical assembly of the hardware, the components.
Okay.
It needs to be 100% compliant with the specification. Single deviation may spoil. We tested that as well. Somebody tried to put a different network adapter into the device, and it obviously stopped working because it's very hardened, and it's restricted down to specific components with specific microcode on it, and so on and so forth. So for the remote locations, yes, that's the only strategy actually. For the European deployments, we prefer to have full control and test it and warm it and make sure that it runs as we designed it. It's very hard to test something remotely. We are somehow dependent on partners, and we don't have that many yet. It's on the way.
And this is the phase one. So we built some paranoid mode, security mode, that it's really, when we tested like a year back, and we built it for the 2 years. We decided, okay, it won't be the cheapest one because it's NVMe, Supermicro, lots of RAM, etc. Right now, it's the economics changing because of the pricing for the service.
Yeah, I mentioned this because we met a company in the US a few, let's say, years probably now, and we did this meeting at Avnet. It's a software company, but Avnet built the appliance for them on a specific, very restriction list of things. Avnet and others, but this meeting was at Avnet, and when there is a request, a sale of an appliance, okay, Avnet built this on specific configuration, but it's not the company itself.
But that's why this will be the next phase. The phase first is for us is a POC, see how it goes. But for long-term perspective, giving the ISO with the local provider, with their own pricing, with their own problem, with their own responsibility for support, it will be the way how we will operate.
But I have to admit that, okay, Storware and the other company I refer are different sides. So probably the footprint or the pressure they can put on Avnet is different.
Yeah.
Based on the business opportunity they can generate.
And one more comment, because the scale of these appliances, we started thinking that the appliance, which will not require any sophisticated Linux or open source knowledge, it will be just an appliance with the graphical user interface access, so easy. Will be simple and easy solution for customers of a small and medium size. So repeatable sale without any big investment in it. And we have learned that actually the requests are coming from the market are for the biggest appliances with the biggest capacity, from customers having the deepest technical acumen, and they don't require us to help them and to provide anything completely in a black box.
To kick you off, 50 minutes.
I did already. I will.
The worst problem is that I'm talky guy and he's a more talky guy. So when we meet each other, there's not always the time to discuss because we all the time screaming.
We have time at the drinks and dinner tonight.
Yeah.
To extend this.
Tim, so I know it's hard to keep it up 90 minutes. So I will try to do my best. We already spoke about the cloud, so I will not mention more.
So you support the cloud?
That was the good one. I'm glad that you understand all of the presentation. It's right direction. What's coming next? This is, let's say, my I cannot, I cannot expose and say where I'm going because the competition is all the time watching, especially the
open, but I can't close it.
especially the Chinese one. Guys, we have one of the Chinese competitors that they even clone our documentation and put from the GitHub into their own website. So imagine when you put a vProtect, it redirects to our documentation on their website.
Wow.
They clone architecture. They clone the code. There is a huge. So I was and every 2 days I was let's say stalked on LinkedIn. So they watching all of their messages. So this is how the world.
A company like Vincent.
I cannot. Yeah, V started from V, and I cannot say more. But it's, to be honest, I don't want to say, but they cloned 80% of our vision. And what is the worst? They took money and they executed. This is the worst part. This is how the Chinese market cooperates, and they are successful. But I cannot say the first letters because all the time you know what's going on. So I need to be more mysterious. Where are we going next? We believe that there will be a plenty of the workloads such as VMware, Citrix, and we will plan another to help customer to migrate. And this is the Rackspace case. Rackspace came to us and says, we chose you, we validate the Commvault, Trilio, but we have thousands of the customers, or 10,000s of the customers, who already invested in the past in the Citrix. Citrix was really famous in the US market in 2000, 2010. They still are on a Citrix. Imagine that the US is still, at least from the infrastructure perspective, from my perspective, decade, not ahead of us, but if they moved into the Citrix, they're still on the Citrix. So there's a huge opportunity for us as a Storware cooperating with the Rackspace, for example, to move their workloads into the OpenStack. We want to have and be the first company this year who will introduce the replication DR. You, for example, know the company Zerto. The Zerto DR, they did a great job from the VMware DR side. They already purchased by HPE. They have a really good product. We like the competition when they're doing a good job, so we would like to do not, let's say, the same, but we would like to have this opportunity to help the our OpenStack customers to have a DR replication mode for the OpenStack community. So we already started the work. We'll try to introduce in the next release. Today we have a 7.5 release this day, and in September we're planning to have a next release called 8.0 that we will introduce this feature. And the next gen backup, this is actually the Philip you already spoiled. This is we started the conversation with 9 data. Maybe this is the answer, because if we are focusing on the enterprises, there is no sense to focus on the customers below 100 terabytes. Maybe it's a matter to going into the half petabytes plus with installed software on their own engine and having the real alternative for the Exagrid, data domain, and the other players. So we started some conversation. I cannot say more right now with Cezary, but if we are 2 kilometers away, maybe something good will happen in the next months. And I'm really, let's say, excited about this functionality, because it will take off from us the responsibility to have a replication, deduplication, efficiency. We need to only work, integrate with them. So this will be the part of the deal. Hopefully, we will see in a coming year, in a coming months or the years.
Can you give some ideas about, or do you have any news now? Because I mean, it's hard to write about a company which is 10 years on the market, just because it's there. I mean, even if you are very successful, but I need something to report on, to say this is why I report about this company now.
Mm-hmm. Now it's from my perspective. I will jump. Okay. Give me two, 3 slides, and I will finalize. from my perspective, when we saying today about the Storware, we saying about this wide range of the workloads that they need to have the backup answer. You mentioned Haiku, for example, in Nutanix. You will see maybe Vim in a Verge. You already seen the Vim in a scale computing. But in a Red Hat, Canonical, and Open Infra Foundation, in the OpenStack, we would like to be a leader. We feel that we already, in the most implementation today worldwide, are leaders here, but we need time to consume such as workloads in the next years ahead in case of VMware alternative scenario. And you will see that from the managed service providers, other backup vendors, or the enterprises, we would like to prove and see in 3-4 years as a number one backup in the OpenStack and KVM space. So this is where I would like to emphasize and closely summarize. We're seeing this huge Broadcom, post-Broadcom opportunity scenario when hundreds or the thousands of the companies will choose or will ask if the Storware can help them with this data protection opportunity with the KVM-based hypervisors. Still, we see that the open source is a gap. Even if the Vim and the other players join into the party, we have this 10 years experience, we have this expertise, and we already proved into this field. We still believing that there is a huge place for us in the European. To be honest, we would like to have 80% of the customers from the Europe. It's not so easy, this is what I said, but having this, building the data sovereignty, cooperation with such as places as a Vault, as the other players, we also speak with some startups from the Portugal or in the Spain, from the GDPR and NIS2 initiative perspective. We would like to see how it goes. And this is what Andrzej said. We believe in that if we will not overcomplicate the world from the licensing perspective, the customers will choose us not only because of the technology, but the close of where we are come from and how we can make the life easier, because we do not force to go to the cloud. We do not force to go into the subscription model. And this is where I said to my company a year ago, 2 years ago, that the strategy is that we would like to be in the 2026, 2030, we would like to have thousands of the OpenStack customers worldwide. So this is, let's say, the number one hypervisor and the private cloud vendor that we are relying on. So this is where I would like to see the biggest strength, the biggest opportunity for the Storware, because having and be realistic, competing with the Vim, competing with the Rubrik, competing with the Haiku, we don't have a chance from the numbers, from the money perspective. We need to find something unique that will differentiate it and build the ahead of the competition, and this is the OpenStack.
But mind you, if you had enough money, you could compete again. It's just a matter of scaling.
Of scaling. This is only about the scaling. It's not about the technology. It's only about the scaling. But if I comparing, the Haiku takes 150 million as one of the seed investments. No, I can't, because it's about the number of the sales, pre-sales, and the scale. So I know that the technology is good. That's why the part of the strategy is going through the OEM still, because this will mitigate the problem about the scaling. But the Andrzej role is to go from the 5 million into the 25 million in 5 years. So we'll see how it goes, but we believe in that this is our unique spot. As a company, let's say, from the technology perspective, from the, let's say, origin perspective, this is how our DNA is, and this is how the market is going, with such as vendors, Virtuoso, OpenMetal, Platform 9, Sardina. This is where we see
May I add one comment shortly?
No.
You asked what would be the main reason. So if you take the virtualization market being worth $300 billion by 2030, which is 3 years from now, yes, 4 years from now.
How many?
$300 billion. That's the value of the virtualization market to be in 2030. And if you assume that VMware currently owns 45 to 50% of that market, which is half almost more or less of the value. And then if Gartner is right, saying that 70% of the customers of VMware consider moving away 50% of the workload to a different platform, that's for $50 billion. That's the value of the market of the non-VMware based virtualizations. Typically, an attach ratio of a backup provider to the virtualization market is 10 to 15%. So for us, it's $5 billion market opportunity in 3 years from now.
Yes,
And-
but for any other backup vendor who does
But
that.
exactly. But this is net new, and no address is OpenStack in that. Yet, exactly. So we have this
Because
three.
I know that Vim is already.
But let's take Veeam 20%. If the rest will
Yeah,
take the
but-
Dell,
They
IBM,
try to
and
do
the
it.
other players, which we have OEM, will be in a good hands.
So we see the value that drives us and gives us a chance of becoming the number one in OpenStack, and we have 2-3 years window of opportunity to win it. That's it.
To be honest, I'm supposed to show you this presentation because I'm lack of these numbers. We'll show these numbers because we got these numbers from the Gartner about the OpenStack, which is relevant from us, which we showing. And I know I'm supposed to do it in the opposite, but right now this is the claim that we work in when I prepare the strategy for 2026, 2030. So this is when I spoke how to communicate the companies today, is a proven enterprise-ready platform that enables data continuity across multi-vendor environments. This is important claim for us, multi-vendor environments. Protect workloads at every stage, at rest, transit, and scale, empowers business with the freedom of flexible licensing. It's not easy always to speak with the marketing team when you are founder. You know how it goes. Marketing is important, but we don't want to. We still want to keep the technology as the most important value from us. We are engineered, even if we acquired such as talents as Andrzej from the other biggest vendors, so he knows what to do with the technology, how to sell it. We would like to keep, even if the price of the smaller revenue, we would like to be on this market, but we are, to be honest, really interested how next 3-4 years, because of the transition of the OpenStack and the KV will goes. I believe we can multiply our revenue, but this is, let's say, that only the time we will validate if it will be 7 million, 10 million, 15. To be honest, in the end, it doesn't matter. If I will have a great company culture that I built in the last 15 years, 12 years, I will be, let's say, my ambitions will be, let's say, cured. But of course, as every vendor, we would like to also see the numbers behind the scenes. You will see how this is a testimonial. Everybody can do the testimonial. I think it will be the presentation for you.
Honestly, I think for most of this audience, the relevant message for us or for any European customer is data sovereignty, not the speculative numbers about what you may reach or may not reach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is what you should stress in your story, because I mean, numbers are very patient until they reach reality.
It's really good message. I will take it into my team. So thank you for it. To be honest, yeah, that's really important.
Ryan, it's a good input.
To finalize, 2 minutes, team. So, you know, when the Scrooge woke up and he got this dream about the ghost of the past, present. He knew on a Christmas how to compile all of the messages and how the world looks like. We don't need to wait into the next Christmas. Hopefully you found some information about the company. I encourage you to scan the QR code. You will get the presentation and you will access all of the data from my marketing team. if you lack anything, just contact Philip and let's go to QA.
I mean, given your size, could you imagine to be bought by someone who also likes to have this open spec market?
Yes, open. It's really open to have such a discussion. I go through more than 100 this kind of meetings.
But then, I mean, if you would be bought, and this is more probable than anything else, by an American vendor, because the most American vendors are
That's what we try to avoid, actually,
Yes,
to lose
but,
the DNA.
I mean, who would be able to buy you, and that it would make sense? There is no backup vendor in Europe. So if you are bought, you're bought by an American company, and then this advantage you have with the European backup vendor for OpenSpec is gone. So,
You know what?
To be honest, it's the best to stay in Europe, to be purchased by security company, data center company,
Alice.
or the open
Yeah.
source, open stackish consultancy company. We'll see how this market will goes. In most cases, we know that the most interests are from the US. It's
and as
obvious.
soon as they buy you, your advantage.
Yeah, I know.
Fight for it.
Okay, last few questions before we conclude or before we stop, because we have at 6:30 you
Yes.
join us for drinks and later for the dinner, and we have to digest what you said, because instead of ghost I will use the term hidden gem. Hidden gem. Is it good? Hidden gem?
Yeah.
Hidden. Hidden gem. Gem.
Gem.
Gem.
Jam.
Gem is pierre précieuse.
No. Gem. Go ahead.
Hidden gem.
Dobrze.
Yeah, because there is a paradox, a disconnect between what you can do as a company, the product, etc., and what you realize on the market, and how the company is visible. There is a disconnect.
Hidden gem, yes, no.
Ariane is back. Ariane is back.
99% of the market, they don't know us. They don't know us, and
Yeah.
we are, it's a huge work. That's why we are here. But that's why I've been waiting few years, because I need to major. It's not myself also as a founder, to be honest, because I learn every year, and I don't want to say I don't like to change the direction, but my way of understanding the market, understanding what I've built, it's much more different than when I started the company.
Yeah.
One point, guys, this is interesting story. The advantage of being European and having the appliance, which is based on international hardware, but still somehow assembled and controlled by the European organization, pops up during one of the events with opening when a German medical software company approached us. They never heard about us. They just looked at the presentations. Okay, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do something like that? Okay, we can do all of that. Okay, we want to have a POC. Then they downloaded the software, they played with it, they contacted our pre-sales for a few clarifications, and they came to us a month later saying, we want this appliance, but we want it twice in the size. Okay, it's going to cost you $250,000. Fine, can you ship it by? Can you ship it in 6 weeks from now? We will try hard because supply is limited. But they made the decision in literally 4 weeks from the initial conversation with us until they tested the software. And what was funny about it is that they deployed Twilio 3 months earlier, and they were very unhappy with the platform, so they decided to redeploy something new after 3 months of using the old